Let's dive into Bangkok. We're exploring Bangkok, a city of contrast and culture today, and just skimming it. Wow, I'm already craving street food and hearing those temple bells.
Yeah, Bangkok really does pack it all in, doesn't it? They don't call it the City of Angels for nothing. And this piece, it captures how it's not just ancient versus modern, It's how they actually blend together in everyday life.
Exactly. That's what I love too. It's not just temples next to skyscrapers. It's like temples and skyscrapers just feel totally normal there. So, where does someone even begin with a city this intense?
Well, I think it comes down to what kind of traveler you are. Honestly, Bangkok has something for everyone, seriously. Like history buffs, they'll be obsessed with the Grand Palace. Foodies, they can just get lost in those amazing markets. And hey, even if you just want to relax on a rooftop bar, overlooking all the chaos, there's a place for that too.
Okay, so maybe not relaxing exactly, given what I've heard about Bangkok's energy, but that variety, that's key. This city of contrasts thing, the source keeps coming back to it. What are some examples that really stand out to you?
Okay, picture this. You're in a tuk-tuk, zipping through traffic, horns blaring everywhere, street vendors all around you, and then you step into Watarun, this incredibly ornate temple, and suddenly it's peaceful. That shift right there, that's Bangkok in a nutshell.
Waterun, that's one of those must-see spots the piece mentions, right?
Ah.
Along with a whole bunch of others that sound equally amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And each one tells a story. Like the Grand Palace, it's not just a pretty building, it's been the seat of Thai royalty since 1782. Can you imagine the history those walls have seen?
It really makes you realize a photo can't capture the feeling of a place. Now, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, that one felt extra special in the article.
Wafrakahu, yeah. It's not about size with this one. It's the belief, the deep connection tied to that jade Buddha statue. For many Thai people, it's the symbol of their faith.
I see. So even if someone isn't Buddhist themselves, they could still feel that powerful atmosphere.
Absolutely. It's palpable. You can just feel it. And then you've got Waterun, which is all about the visuals. That spire covered in porcelain, catching the sunset light, pure Instagram gold, let me tell you.
Huh. Well, I'm a sucker for good
Yeah.
architecture, so I'm already adding that to my list. But then there's Wat Pho and that giant reclining Buddha. Talk about scale.
It's 46 meters long, can you imagine? It's meant to show Buddha entering nirvana, this state of ultimate peace. And bonus, Wat Pho is where traditional Thai massage was born, so you can actually get a treatment right there.
Okay, that's an experience I need to try. Temples, massage. It's almost too much to pack in. This deep dive is making me feel like I need a vacation from my vacation planning.
And we haven't even left the temples yet. But the source also mentions the Chao Phraya River as another must-do. It's the heart of Bangkok, literally flowing right through it.
I was picturing those classic long-tail boat rides, seeing the city from the water. It's that contrast again, isn't it? Old Bangkok on the banks, modern buildings rising up behind it.
Exactly. And then branching off from the river, you have the klongs, these smaller canals. That's where you can glimpse a slower pace of life, how people lived before the skyscrapers took over.
It makes you wonder what a boat tour through those would be like, huh? Glimpsing daily life.
Ah,
Okay, this is turning into a 3-week trip at this rate. But before we get carried away to the klongs, let's talk markets. Because Bangkok is famous for them, and this source makes it clear why.
oh, the markets. Chatuchak Weekend Market alone could take up a whole day, easily. It's massive. Over 15,000 stalls. You could find anything there, seriously, from clothes to antiques to, well, probably a live elephant if you looked hard enough.
I'm getting sensory overload just thinking about it. And then there are the floating markets, which is just such a cool concept.
Right. The image of those vendors paddling their boats loaded with produce and souvenirs. It's definitely a must-see. Dam No and Sarawak is the iconic one, but it does get crowded. For a more local vibe, I'd suggest Amphawa Floating Market. It comes alive in the late afternoon with more food stalls that community feel.
See, this is why I need you on these deep dives. It's not just what to see, but the nuances. Okay, my stomach's rumbling just reading about all this, so let's talk food. This piece mentions some dishes I got to get your take on.
Get ready for some flavor explosions. Pad Thai, Som Tam, Cow Pad, Tom Yum Goong. Bangkok street food is legendary. Pad Thai is that go-to noodle dish, savory and slightly sweet. Som Tam, the green papaya salad, is spicy and tangy. Then you've got Cow Pad, their version of fried rice. Simple, but so good.
Okay, pause for a second. My mouth is watering. Before we go on, tell me about Tom Yum Goong. That name just sounds adventurous.
It is. It's this hot and sour soup with shrimp, lemongrass, lime leaves. That broth is what makes it. And if you have room for dessert, mango sticky rice is a must. Sweet, creamy, perfect after all that spice.
Now I'm officially starving. I'm marking down Yaowarat Chinatown and Soi Rambutri for street food spots based on the source. But we can't forget Bangkok's modern side. Those malls are on another level, apparently.
Oh yeah, Siam Paragon, a Concierge, Central World. Think high-end brands, gourmet restaurants, sometimes even indoor theme parks. It's that contrast again, right? Right next to those street vendors, you've got luxury shopping.
Bangkok really is like multiple cities in one, huh? Temples, markets, malls. And we haven't even touched on the nightlife.
Oh, that's a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. Rooftop bars with insane views, the backpacker haven of Khao San Road. Bangkok after dark is wild.
Well, lucky for our listeners, we've got more episodes to cover all that. But for now, we'll leave them craving pad thai and plotting their temple route.
Bangkok after dark, it's something else. Remember all those contrasts we were talking about? They get even more dramatic when the sun goes down.
Okay, I'm all ears. The source mentioned rooftop bars. And honestly, those have been on my radar ever since The Hangover Part 2.
Ah, yes. The Sky Bar at Labua State Tower. It's become the iconic rooftop bar, all thanks to that movie. But hype aside, the view really is incredible. I mean, just imagine sipping a cocktail overlooking that massive cityscape, all lit up. It's pure magic.
Sounds perfect for a fancy night out.
Yeah.
But what if you're looking for something a little more, shall we say, budget-friendly? The article also mentioned Khao San Road, which seems a bit wilder.
Oh, yeah. Khao San Road. That's where you go to let loose. It's the heart of backpacker Bangkok, full of hostels, street food, bars, blasting music until late. It's definitely an experience.
It kind of reminds me of some parts of New York City, but with a Thai twist, you know?
Yeah.
What's the crowd like there?
It's a mix of everyone, honestly. You've got backpackers from all over the world, locals looking to have a good time, even some curious tourists who venture out from their fancy hotels.
So a bit of everything, just like Bangkok itself. Now, Asiatique night market caught my eye, too. That seems like a good blend of shopping and entertainment, right?
Asiatique's great if you want that night market vibe, but with a more modern, polished feel. It's right on the river, so the setting is beautiful. You've got stalls selling crafts, souvenirs, clothes, and of course, tons of food stalls to keep you going.
Speaking of fueling up, we've talked about all this incredible food, but I'm realizing we haven't really dug into the cultural side of things. Beyond the temples, what are some ways someone could really experience Thai traditions in Bangkok?
One that's really special is monk almsgiving. It happens every morning, where locals offer food to Buddhist monks to gain merit. It's a beautiful, quiet ritual, really highlights the spiritual side of Thai culture.
I'd love to witness that, but I imagine it requires a certain level of respect and understanding.
Oh, absolutely. It's super important to be mindful, dress appropriately, and observe quietly. It's not a performance, it's a daily act of faith for them. And if you want to participate, there are guidelines to follow. Your hotel or a local guide can help you navigate that respectfully.
That's a great tip. Now, I'm also fascinated by traditional Thai art forms. Any recommendations on where to experience those?
Well, you can't talk about Thai culture without mentioning Muay Thai boxing. It's so much more than just a sport. It's an art form with centuries of history. There are stadiums all over Bangkok, and seeing a live match is incredible. So exciting.
The skill and athleticism is insane. And the source mentioned Thai classical dance, too.
Oh, yes. Those performances are mesmerizing. The costumes, the music, the storytelling through movement, it's a true feast for the senses. You can find performances at theaters and cultural centers, sometimes even at temples.
This deep dive is making me realize how much I've been missing out on. We've barely scratched the surface, and I'm already planning a month-long trip just to take it all in.
And we haven't even talked about the unexpected side of Bangkok. The green spaces, the art scene, there's a whole other layer to discover.
Okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a breather and talk about those green spaces. Because, honestly, I wouldn't have thought of parks as a must-do in a city like Bangkok.
You'd be surprised. Lumpini Park is this massive oasis right in the middle of the city. People go there to jog, do Tai Chi, have picnics. It's a great escape from all the concrete.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
But I remember the source mentioning something about monitor lizards.
Oh, yeah. They're actually quite common in Lumpini Park. Don't worry, they mostly keep to themselves, sunning by the lakes. But seeing a giant lizard just casually stroll by, it definitely adds a unique element to your park visit.
That's Bangkok for you. Never a dull moment. Now, the art scene, tell me more. I'm always up for discovering local artists and galleries.
Bangkok's art scene is thriving. The Bangkok Art and Culture Center, or BACC, is a great starting point. They have rotating exhibitions, performances, film screenings. It's a real hub for contemporary art.
Perfect for a rainy afternoon, I'm guessing.
Definitely. And if you're into street art, areas like Soi Nana and Chinatown are becoming real hotspots. You'll find some incredible murals tucked away in alleyways, adding a burst of color to the neighborhoods.
Okay, I'm adding those to my list. As we're talking, I'm realizing that planning a trip to Bangkok is almost like creating a custom-made experience. There's just so much to choose from, you can really tailor it to your interests.
That's the beauty of it. Whether you're a history buff, a foodie, an art lover, an adrenaline junkie, Bangkok has something for you. And the city itself kind of encourages exploration. It's a place that rewards curiosity.
Speaking of exploration, one last thing I have to ask about Thai massage. The source mentioned Wat Pho as the birthplace of this ancient practice, and honestly, a good massage sounds pretty tempting after all this virtual sightseeing.
Wat Pho is definitely a special place to get a Thai massage, given its history. But honestly, you can find amazing massages all over Bangkok, from street-side stalls to luxurious spas.
So what's the difference between a Thai massage and, say, a Swedish massage? I'm picturing something more intense, maybe involving some acrobatics.
Well, a Thai massage is definitely more active than a Swedish massage. It involves stretching, pressure points, and rhythmic movements. Not exactly acrobatic, but the practitioner will use their body weight to help release tension and improve flexibility.
Sounds like a workout and a relaxation session all in one. I'm definitely adding that to my must-do list. Now, I know we've covered a ton of ground already, but I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of Bangkok.
That's the thing about this city. It's constantly evolving. There's always something new to discover. And even when you think you know it, Bangkok will surprise you.
Well, lucky for our listeners, we've got one more part to this deep dive. I can't wait to uncover those hidden gems you promised. What's Bangkok hiding up its sleeve that most tourists miss?
After going through this source, what really struck me is that Bangkok is less about specific places and more about the vibe. It's a city that reveals itself differently to everyone.
I see what you mean. It's like we've given our listener this amazing starter kit, but the real adventure begins when they actually get there and follow their own path, right?
Exactly. We can talk about the Grand Palace all day long, but maybe your Bangkok experience is all about finding that hole-in-the-wall noodle shop, the one only locals know about.
Okay, challenge accepted. Beyond the usual spots, what are some ways someone could make their Bangkok trip truly unique?
Well, let's start with food. We talked about street food, of course, but there's a whole world of culinary experiences to uncover. Think Michelin-starred restaurants pushing boundaries, or tiny family-run places with recipes passed down for generations.
So it's about digging deeper, huh? Not just what you eat, but the story behind the food.
Exactly. Imagine having dinner in some hidden courtyard surrounded by locals, no tourists in sight. That's a different Bangkok than the one you see in most guidebooks.
Now you're making me hungry again. We also talked about shopping, markets, malls. But what about those off-the-beaten-path finds? I'm picturing vintage shops, that kind of thing.
Bangkok is a treasure trove for that. Tucked away in different neighborhoods, you'll find stores packed with vintage clothing, antique furniture, all sorts of unique pieces you wouldn't find anywhere else.
I love that. Like bringing back a piece of Bangkok's history, not just a typical souvenir.
Right. And if you're into supporting local artists, there are tons of independent boutiques, workshops. You can meet the creators, buy handmade jewelry, ceramics. It's a totally different kind of shopping experience.
Okay, noted. Now, music. We briefly touched on traditional performances, but the source hinted at a whole music scene beyond that.
Bangkok has it all, honestly. Live jazz bars, underground clubs, even classical concerts. It just depends on your taste. You could be dancing all night or enjoying a quiet evening listening to traditional Thai music.
So it's about tuning in to the city's rhythm, whatever that means for you. Now, we can't forget those who are seeking a bit of peace amidst all the chaos. Besides Lumpini Park, what are some other green escapes?
Well, there are smaller parks all around the city, some with beautiful botanical gardens, or you could take a long-tail boat down the canals, get away from the city center, just enjoy the quiet and the greenery.
It's funny, we started this deep dive talking about contrasts, and that's what keeps coming back, isn't it? Even the quiet moments in Bangkok feel different.
Exactly. It's a city that never lets you forget where you are. So, for someone planning a trip, after all this info, what would you tell them?
Don't overplan. Have your must-sees, for sure, but leave room for spontaneity. That's how you discover your Bangkok.
I couldn't agree more. Be curious, be open to the unexpected. That's where the magic happens.
Well said. So to our listener, we've given you the map, but the adventure is yours to create. Pack your bags, embrace the chaos, and get ready for an experience unlike any other.
Safe travels, and until next time, keep diving deep.